So, being the light, what does that mean? There's a very important statement that Jesus made that kind of inspired me to uh, use this perhaps seemingly strange expression. In one of the Gospels in the New Testament, Jesus said, addressing his disciples or whoever was listening to him, basically addressing each one of us, he said, "You are the light of the world." That's a very profound statement, not perhaps necessarily understood in the churches. There's another statement that he made in the Gospel of John, where he said, with reference to himself, "I am the light of the world." So we have two statements very of profound significance. On the one hand, he said, "You are the light of the world." And then elsewhere, we find him saying, "I am the light of the world." So what does that mean? He's talking to, when he says, "You are the light of the world," he was talking to his followers, simple people, not people who are important in the eyes of the world. They were simple people. So he was not telling them that they are very special. He was pointing to a deeper reality, a deeper, I would say, a deeper identity within them, deeper than their superficial social identity, their form identity in this world. He was pointing to an essence within every human being. Now, you may find that probably nowhere in the Bible is the word consciousness used. Jesus never used the word consciousness. It would have been meaningless, and probably in his native language, which was Aramaic, the word consciousness probably didn't even exist. There's even a dispute whether the word consciousness existed in ancient Greek, which of course is the language in which the New Testament was written. There probably is, but that we don't need to go into that. So if there had been the word consciousness, it would still have been meaningless to his listeners, who were simple people. And somehow humanity was not ready to hear this. It would have been meaningless to most people alive on the planet to say, the essence of who you are is you are conscious. The light stands for, obviously, consciousness. It could not stand for anything else. And the light in which the world appears is the consciousness. Without consciousness, there's no world. The greatest mystery about the universe, there are many mysteries in the universe. I love mysteries. There are superficial mysteries. I love the mysteries of UFOs, and I love the mysteries of crop circles, things like that. And then, of course, there are the deep mysteries of the vastness of space, outer space, the mystery of the the almost infinite number of galaxies. Every galaxy is an entire world system, incomprehensible, inconceivable, unbelievable mystery. And we've only scratched the surface of that. We've only scratched the surface of what this universe is. Then we have the mystery, the outer mystery. Then we have the mystery of the atomic realm and the subatomic realm, which also is inconceivable, incomprehensible. We cannot fully understand it. It's just an amazing mystery. So we have the macrocosmic mystery, and then we have the microcosmic mystery of the world. And in between, we have our everyday world, which we move in. And yet, underlying all that, underlying both the macrocosmic and the microcosmic and our everyday world, is the deepest mystery of all. And that is the mystery of consciousness. The most incredible thing is that there is not only a universe, but the most mysterious thing about the universe is that the universe is conscious. And we don't know what consciousness is. We cannot know what consciousness is in the same way in which we can know something that we look at and examine, that a scientist can examine, the macrocosm, the galaxies, the microcosm, the atomic and subatomic realm. Scientists rarely talk about consciousness because they don't know what to say about it. How does it originate? What is it? Where does it come from? And yet it's so beyond any doubt. One could almost say the one thing that you cannot doubt is that you are conscious right now about yourself. You can doubt everything about yourself, but what you cannot doubt is that you are conscious. Even if the entire world what you experience as the world could all be a dream. It could be, maybe it's even the Matrix. I don't think it is, but Matrix is just a modern form of saying it's a dreamlike thing. This very moment could be your dream, that you are dreaming that we are listening to somebody talking about the fact that you might be dreaming, and that you might be dreaming that you're seeing this image on the screen and this person is talking. But of course, where's this person talking? This person is talking. Where does this talk take place? In your consciousness. I am in your consciousness. Obviously, that's where the whole thing is created. Now, when we say your consciousness, whether that is correct, I would say probably not, although I use that term, your, the way I see it, there's only one consciousness. You are a manifestation of that one consciousness. So I am speaking in this one consciousness. And who am I? I am the light of the world, the one consciousness. As are you. You are that consciousness. And that is the one thing that you cannot doubt. You are the light of the world. And this is an experiential realization. It is not something abstract. It is not something to believe in. And I believe that I am the light of the world. There's nothing to believe in. But to realize firsthand, to realize this in your immediate experience, the very fact that the one thing that you cannot doubt about yourself, Your whole identity may be just a mental construct, and it is, by the way. Your whole identity, that's just maybe so that you don't won't stop listening to me. Your whole identity may be just a temporary mental construct that can be doubted a little bit, perhaps a bit like a dream. And your whole life could be, it is a kind of dream. It's a question of perspective, where you say it's real or it's a dream. A dream evaporates very quickly, it dissipates, it disappears. But every experience that you have disappears very quickly. Even the dinner you had last night, was that a dream? Your last vacation, was that a dream or did it happen? And then you remember a dream you had last night. Okay, that was a dream, but the vacation was real, but it's gone now. So you can doubt many things. You can doubt the absolute reality of this world and your experience. That may be, but there was a famous, as you know, probably French philosopher, Descartes, who came to this point. He wanted to, and he came at the end of the Middle Ages, which had all kinds of weird beliefs and superstitions. And so he wanted to know, is there anything that is beyond doubt? Everything can be doubted. And he went inside, and then he realized that he was still thinking all the time. And so he said, I think, therefore I am. That's beyond doubt. But he hadn't gone quite deep enough. He was on his way towards the true realization, but he stopped before he reached the point where you transcend thinking, but are still conscious and aware. If he had waited a little, and if he had stopped thinking for a moment and realized that beyond thought, there is a consciousness. There's a vast realm of consciousness. Beyond thought, there is an awareness, there is the light of consciousness before it becomes a thing. That the light shines through every thought form. The light is not separate from, the thoughts are not separate from the totality of consciousness. They are like a form that consciousness takes. So the realization, I am the light of the world, is extremely important. And that's the realization of the one thing within you that is beyond doubt, that you are conscious. And even if it's all a dream, for the dream to be perceived, to be experienced, for the dream to happen, there needs to be a light in which it happens, in which it is perceived and known. And that is the light of consciousness. And the entire world, to appear, it needs to become a world, it needs the light of consciousness. And so this consciousness, which is the light of the world, which is the essence of who you are, you cannot, scientists have such a problem with it because that's the one thing, not a thing, I just call it a thing, it's the one thing that cannot be an object of knowledge. Everything else, you are the subject that knows the object. You look at something, you're the subject. I look at my hand, here's my hand, I look at my hand. Anything that the scientist does, the scientist is the observer, and what he or she examines is the observed. Now that works with everything, except with one thing. You cannot be the observer of consciousness. In other words, consciousness cannot become the observed because consciousness is the eternal subject, the eternal observer. So if let's say the scientist is looking for consciousness, and the power that is looking for consciousness is the light of consciousness. So whatever the scientist looks at to solve the mystery of consciousness is the consciousness looking for itself. And so he could never find that consciousness as say, oh, there it is. You can never say, I have it. You cannot even say, I understand it. It's the eternal mystery. But that is the eternal mystery of who you are. So you cannot, it's essentially, you cannot make yourself into an object of knowledge. That would be the egoic self. You can know yourself as an ego and say, that's me. You can talk about yourself or your conditioned entity, the person, the personality, the historical person, the mental construct that is who you are. That can be an object of knowledge. But the essence of who you are can never be an object of knowledge because it is the eternal subject. So you cannot, and it is inseparable from the transcendent, which is really God. So in essence, you are God, or perhaps say more acceptable and perhaps more accurate to say, perhaps I wouldn't go so far as to say that you are God, but I would say that you are an emanation of God, in the same way that a ray of sunlight is an emanation of the sun and is connected to the sun, but is not the sun. In the same way, you are an emanation of Source, the One, but God, you are. Now, if you look for God, the same applies, because really that is consciousness is the emanation. The same applies, you cannot find God as an object, and there it is. Jesus said that literally, but people just don't seem to get it, because people asked him. He used this expression, "kingdom of heaven," which in my translation is kingdom is dimension, and heaven is spaciousness. It's the dimension of of pure consciousness, spaciousness. The dimension of spaciousness is and it's a kingdom of heaven. Heaven is not an external thing. It's an inner dimension of consciousness. So find the kingdom of heaven that is within you. Okay, he said, and then his disciple said, when does the kingdom of heaven come? Because they had completely misunderstood what he was talking about. When does the kingdom of heaven come? And he said, no, he's talking, this kingdom of heaven is the consciousness. And he said, the kingdom of heaven does not come with signs to be perceived. You cannot say, look, it's over here, or look, it's over there. Because truly, I tell you, it is within you. He said it all. What does it mean? He says, the kingdom of heaven does not come as with signs that you can perceive. You cannot perceive it in the way in which you perceive external things, because it is the eternal subject. You cannot make God or consciousness, which is the emanation of God, into an object of perception or an object of knowledge. And that's why the only way a scientist can understand consciousness, if the scientist directs the attention that goes outward back into itself. And the scientist, or anybody, you, becomes aware that what she has been looking for is already the answer. It's in the answer is what you are looking, you are what you're looking for.